The purpose of the determine budget process is to create the cost baseline. The cost estimates of all the activities are added up to find the cost of work packages. Then the work package costs are added up to establish costs of control accounts. And those are then added together to find the cost of the project, which is the cost baseline. The process also includes the work to ensure that contingency and management reserves have been allocated. The project budget includes all the money that is authorized to be spent on the project. It is a good practice to compare the project's budget with the budgets of previous similar projects. The historical information can be very useful when doing the analogous or parametric estimates, which depend on historical data. Some industries have developed rules of thumb based on a large amount of historical data. Here are a couple of examples that I have experienced. For my final year project of bachelor degree studies, my group had to do quantity takeoff and estimate the quantities of material needed for a high-rise building. The building was completed that year, so my group was to estimate and then compare with the actual consumption of the material on the project. We thought we can do the estimate by counting the steel bars and their sizes as shown on the construction drawings. When we got access to those drawings, we walked into the office of that building which held all those drawings. And the engineer told us these are the drawings. They were laid on the table and almost this thick. We looked at each other. If we started going through these drawings, taking off each steel bar and then adding those up, we will be sitting here for 4 months. We looked at the engineer and said, "What have we signed up for? How can we get this done in 3 to 5 weeks?" He told us the rule of thumb that is used in typical building construction. The rule is 7 pounds of steel per cubic foot of concrete. So we simply used that formula. When we later compared with the actual, we were at about 90% accuracy. That is if I remember correctly, because it was quite a long time ago. Another example is that of the contractor who comes in to give an estimate for finishing the basement. Takes the measurements and works some numbers on the calculator and 5 minutes later gives the estimate. This is because contractors have established per square foot cost of typical basement construction. And once they have the area, all they need to do is multiply the area by the unit cost, and that gives the cost of finishing the basement. A review of industry and domain practices can also help in ensuring that the project budget is reasonable. So the historical data review, reserve analysis, and cost aggregation will result in the cost baseline and project budget. Once the cost baseline is approved, this process is complete. By the way, this process may get repeated later if there are several changes in the estimates.